Just I'll say this first of all, from a team perspective, I was really happy with how our team played up to their standard. Those are difficult games. We saw across college football how some teams really struggled to play up to their standard. When you step out of the SEC, I think our football team did a really good job against a team that is difficult to play against. Georgia State has got a good football team. They're well coached. They're bowl eligible. They're going to win games. So pleased with the overall performance. And again, an incredible evening for Jayden Daniels and the wide receivers. Obviously we know about what he did, tying Joe Burrow's record for 8 touchdowns. He was named the SEC Player of the Week again. I think that's for the 5th time this year that he's won that weekly award. Again, number 1 in the nation in a number of categories. He continues to play at an incredibly elite level and the best player in college football. So great weekend leading into our last home game, and it's we want to be able to honor our seniors in this game, and certainly playing an outstanding football team in Texas A&M, a team that is ultimately talented on both sides of the ball, skilled players, outstanding defense, ranked as one of the best defenses in the SEC. I think it's leading in total defense, number 1 in rush defense, outstanding defensive line. I think one of the best, if not the best, linebacker in Cooper. This will be a great challenge for our offense, and then certainly for our defense with their skilled players, and our ability to certainly play a complete 4 quarters of football. So should be an exciting matchup. They always are. It's a game that, certainly our last home game in Tiger Stadium. We're looking forward to the challenge, and it should be a great football game. So with that, we'll open it up to questions.
Here, when you got here 2 years ago, some of the guys that you'll honor this weekend, is there anything that you kind of reflect upon, or how emotional that might be for some of the guys when you got here and this will be their last game here?
Yeah, I got to start with the first meeting with these guys in terms of their commitment to our process and building a foundation for this football team. There haven't been many opportunities for me to thank them. These are the opportunities that you get a chance to thank those guys that have helped build the foundation for our football program. So this will be that opportunity that I get.
Brian, obviously the circumstances are completely different because it was last season, but was there anything that you learned from losing to Texas A&M at the end of the regular season last year that you want to maybe apply to this week in order to avoid a loss here at the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, the circumstances are different, on the road versus being at home. Certainly, we had, it was our first year of, learning how to deal with success. We'd already wrapped up the SEC West title. I think maybe we didn't handle success the right way. Certainly that's not the case this year, so circumstances a little bit different. I think our football team has a great deal of respect for their opponent and have played consistently to the standard necessary. So I just think that this has all been about, leaving a legacy, and that is another opportunity to win 10 games. And they have that chance to finish the season strong, and this is an important game for them.
Hey, Coach, right here. Malik Neighbors is first in yards and also yards per game. He's 4th in touchdowns, and he's 6th in the nation in receptions per game. Do you think he should be joining Jayden in New York for a chance to win the Heisman?
Yeah, those are pretty lofty numbers, but I think you have to include, Brian Thomas's numbers, and Brian, I think, rivals Marvin Harrison's numbers right now, and he's in conversation for the Heisman. I think if you take both my receivers, you know, those two and what they have done could easily be in that conversation. So if Marvin Harris isn't in that conversation, I don't know why, both Brian and Malik wouldn't be in that conversation. So again, all you have to do is look at the numbers. But I think that's probably why, if you want to look at numbers, Daniels' numbers are starting to pull. And it's just that. First of all, there's depth on the defensive line. Physically gifted athletes at all levels, inside and out, and they have versatility. Their defensive linemen can play anything from a 0 technique to a 5 technique. Great versatility, great athleticism. As I mentioned, Cooper's all over the field. You got to know where he is. And that's the strength of their Texas A&M defense is the versatility, the depth that they play on the defensive line. They, and they're aggressive. Coach is an aggressive defensive play caller. They mix things up very well, and especially their third down packages. You've got to be on your toes. You certainly have to do a really good job in protections and protecting the quarterback, and you've got to be able to find a way to mitigate some of the potential negative plays.
Coach, in this whole Heisman discussion, how much do you think strength of schedule should be part of the criteria?
Well, I think that there's so many different things that people look at, when they have a ballot. They're looking at strength of schedule. They're looking at wins and losses. They're looking at consistency and performance. And I think if you examine it, through, I think there's so many different components. But when you break it down, it's the eye test as well. So I could probably agree with a number of different components, but when a guy takes over a game in the manner that he has all year, I think that really shifts it more so than, really getting down to specifics. And I guess that's why it would be much more difficult if it was a non-Power 5, performance. They would kind of scrutinize that. All the candidates that are up for it are equal in terms of Power 5 candidates playing a high-level schedule.
Coach, a couple of quick ones if I could. Senior Day, it's my understanding Josh Williams might have another year if he wants it, and then Kyron Lacey, somebody like that, could he have another year too?
Sure.
Do you have some guys like that?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and each year, we go through this process where, you could have a couple senior days. It's one of those kind of situations where, we're really working off of their academic calendar, not necessarily their eligibility calendar. So we want to be able to honor them off of their academic calendar and what they've done in the classroom. And so there is that opportunity that somebody could come back because we're still dealing with the COVID year as that additional year of eligibility. So like other stops that I've had along the way, I've had multiple pictures on Senior Day with players, and this could be the case as well.
And real quick, fans have wondered where has Whitweek's been in terms of.
He's been injured. Yeah, he's been injured. He had an accident that left a nasty gash in his foot, and he wasn't able to play at the highest level. We could probably got him in the Georgia State game. That was my decision not to play him. I did not want to, put him in a game where, he pops 2 or 3 of those stitches, and then we didn't have him for A&M. We're going to need him this weekend.
Hey, Brian. Logan Diggs, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't on the sideline on Saturday. Can you confirm if he was with the team and then his availability for this week?
He was with the team.
Okay.
Yeah, he was with the team. He should be available. He's been dealing with an upper body injury. He's in good stead with the team. So he was with us at the hotel. He was with us throughout. he may have popped inside for a little bit, but he was with us throughout the entire week of preparation. He tried, diligently on Thursday. We put him through a pretty good workout on Thursday. We just felt like, again, with the depth that we have at that position, we wanted him. He's a guy that initiates contact. He's a physical runner. We wanted him 100% for an A&M.
Coach, a two-parter on your interior defensive line. Do you have a feel if Mekhi Wingo's going to come back for another year? And in recruiting, do you have a number between high school and transfer portal that you're going to need at that position? Because it's going forward, that could be one of your bigger needs.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to recruit Mekhi. Mekhi's got to make a decision, relative to whether he thinks, coming back for another year is in his best interests. We're obviously going to give him a lot of data in terms of what we think is in his best interest, and we'll let him and his family and those that are helping him make his decision, process through that. But yeah, he's in that boat of trying to make a decision, and we'll give him all the data that he needs and all the information. Certainly, we'd love to have him back.
But could you speak to the specifics of Jayden's off-season preparation, or maybe in-season preparation with the VR headsets and the throwing in California? How much of that do you think has helped him make this leap?
Well, I think the mindset of a player and what he needs to do to move to that next level. Look, everybody has a choice, right? You can choose to be good. You can choose to be great. You can choose to be elite. He chose to be elite. And so then what are the steps that you have to do? And it's most of us just, in life, we're good with being really good. He wanted to be elite, and so he had to take some measures to get there. And it was early morning training. It was utilizing all of the modalities that were available to him, from VR to training in California to additional film study to footwork and training that he had not done before. So I would say that this was a choice of wanting to be elite, and he made those choices. We just provided him the resources necessary for him to get there.
Just a couple quick ones. Just curious what your thoughts are on, in your experience, facing a team like A&M that's kind of dealing with an interim situation, and just what you can expect from those kinds of teams and kind of playing, for a lot still. But just and then also secondary had a question about J.K. Johnson and how his recovery from his injury is going.
Yeah, so you could spend the day thinking about, well, A&M is without a head coach. What's their mindset? How are they going about this? And I've been in this long enough to know that whatever side of that they come out on really doesn't matter. It's about how we prepare. Because I just believe if we do a great job preparing and we perform at our level, we're going to have success. So I respect the question and understand why you would ask it, but we just have to focus on our preparation. We've got to prepare really well against a good football team, and so that's how we'll go about it. JK is making really good progress. It's an injury that requires time more than anything else, and the time element is giving him the opportunity. I think this week, I could be off by a few days, but I think he gets into the Alter G, which is the non-weight-bearing treadmill, where he'll begin running, and so he's making pretty good progress.
Brian, back to the question about an interim. Are there any differences? I know it's just one game, but any differences you noticed with Texas A&M in the one game with an interim as opposed to what you prepared for with Jimbo?
No. There's the quarterback was different, without, Johnson being in there. But other than that, I mean, the offense is a little bit different. They tend to be in a little bit more of a, read option kind of mode. But other than that, it's still an aggressive defense. They still want to run the football. They still want to be balanced. But didn't see anything different from them. No.
What did you make of after the 14 points Georgia State scored to, shut them out the rest of the way? And then just over the past month, how do you assess defense and strides made?
Yeah, I mean, resiliency is probably the best way. We had a couple of false starts. We were anxious a little bit. They hit a ball down the field on one of our freshman corners who didn't play the ball in the air. We didn't fit a blitz. Other than that, we played pretty good defense. We tackled much better. Our fits were excellent with our defensive line. I think the defensive line improvement has probably been the greatest in terms of the last month. And then we're just playing a lot of young players on the back end that are growing and getting better. And that's just a process of them getting out there and playing and getting experience, whether it's, Ashton Stamps or Javid Torviano. Those guys just need to get out there and play. So I would say really good, progress with our defensive line, and then the young players in the back end of the defense getting more comfortable being out there. They were a little nervous early on, played a little tentative, and I thought they played a lot more aggressive when we allowed them to get up there and press and play more competitive. So saw some pretty good progress there. And I think the last thing that I will say is fourth down stops. We had very few fourth down stops earlier in the year. We've had a number of fourth down stops now over the past month, and that's a good sign.
Yeah, I guess just your past history. Is this week any different in your preparation? Do you have to do more early to make sure it holds, or is it really hard on the?
Well, classes end on Wednesday at 12:30, so we'll have plenty of time with our team. It's an early start, so you're changing your routine up a little bit. We'll get to the hotel a little bit earlier on Friday to make sure that we finish up a little bit earlier Friday night because we'll have an early morning on Saturday.
And just one softball, if I can. What are you thankful for this year?
Yeah, I just thankful for the opportunity to be with my guys and develop them in all facets. I mean, it's been fun watching this team grow. I mean, we've had our ups and downs. I mean, it's not been easy, but just watching the guys grow and overcome some adversity and some tough times and watching them get better. It's been fun, and I'm thankful for that.
Hey, Coach, I think after the Florida game, you gave a shout-out to Josh Williams and Noah Kane. What does senior day mean for two guys like that? Maybe haven't played as much, but have stuck around through the process.
Yeah, and it's kind of answering the question earlier. It's a chance for me to thank them personally for, what they're doing for this program, and that is modeling what a great teammate is and how to do things the right way. Many times you don't have that opportunity to show your team, what it's like to be a great teammate, what perseverance is, what patience is, what it takes to be successful is sometimes you've got to be patient. And in this life that we live today, in this world, patience is not sometimes given enough highlights. And I think that this is that opportunity where I can thank him for all that.
Brian, I was too busy keeping up with Jayden's numbers the other night, but did Andre
I was
Sam?
too busy watching him.
He kind of made me dizzy. Did Andre Sam return to the game, and his injury status on anybody else?
Yeah, he did not return to the game. He will be a go for this weekend, so he's cleared. Yeah, the only other injury situation we had, we talked about Witt. We wanted to be careful with him with the foot injury, and then Logan. He's cleared for practice for Tuesday, so that's really it in terms of we're in a pretty good position going into the final week of the season. Yeah, well, he's been cleared for practice. He's been limited in terms of what he could do with the stitches. The stitches were taken out Sunday, so those stitches are out. He's full go. Time to play.
Just to clarify real quick, with Logan, you said earlier he should be available. That would be for Texas A&M then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then with Malik Neighbors, the way y'all have used him with motions this year, was that something that you intended to do going into the season, or has it been kind of a product of seeing what defenses have done to try to take him out of games and then adjust to that by moving him around as much?
No, it was a plan going into the season that we were not going to be able to put him into the short field and utilize him in the manner that we needed to. We felt like if he stayed at the W position, he was going to get double zoned. He was going to get press coverage. He was not going to be allowed to get off the line of scrimmage. So kind of a plan that I've had always with my number one receivers, that we're going to move him around, stack him, get him into different looks. And you've got to be able to learn. The one thing Malik's done is he's learned all three positions. He knows the X, the Z, and the W. And if you want to catch a lot of balls and you want to get a lot of yards, you better learn all three positions. Because if you can't, you can't be as versatile. And so good for him. He's learned all three, and it's really going to help him moving forward.
So what's got to be on the Thanksgiving table that you have to have?
Cranberry sauce. I'm from New England. You got to have it.
Oh, cranberries for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
no doubt.
Jayden's probably got the best shot of a player you've had since Manti Te'o.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And arguably the best shot, because I think Manti was a bit of a long shot as a defensive
But he
player.
did finish second. I mean,
He did finish second.
Yeah,
Yes.
Do you feel like you've been more vocal about Jayden's candidacy than you were with Manti?
Yes. Yes.
And why so?
Because I truly think he's the best player in the country. I've been watching him, and I've watched the other players, and I think they're terrific players too. I really do. But what he's doing is so different in terms of what I've seen in my career, in terms of pushing the ball down the field, the accuracy in terms of dropping balls into tight coverages, running the football, and the, I would say, assertiveness in which he's throwing the football. These aren't screen passes. These aren't swing passes. These aren't cupcake throws. And not that anybody's making cupcake throws to put themselves, I'm not saying that, but all of his throws are vertical throws, and he's pushing the ball down the field, and his runs are not like, wow, where is everybody? He's making people miss. He's taking hits. He's taken hits to run the football. Yeah, I mean, I think, in terms of their versatility, in terms of what they do, yes, this is the best defense we'll see.
So with Jayden and your other players not having a championship game, does this kind of set up a platform or a stage for them to really, prove their worth even more, considering who they're going up against?
They're excited about playing Texas A&M. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great challenge for them, and they're excited about it, no doubt.
Coach, in the past here, sometimes the program has been caught short on the offensive line. How much of an emphasis did you place on that, and how much do you think that helps you moving forward, no matter who your quarterback is and who you're recruiting?
Yeah, it was job one. It was the first thing that I had identified that we needed to address before we got into anything else, was the offensive line. I just feel like you can't put an offense together until you put your offensive line together. And so that was priority one, and then we'll build it out from there. Look, I had knowledge of the success LSU's had in terms of recruiting wide receivers, so that wasn't a mystery. So I'm not like some savant that figured this out. But I knew that the offensive line needed to be addressed, and we needed to focus there first. Now, obviously, we have to focus defensively and build that defense to the level that the offense has been built. And then we'll have the kind of roster and balance that we need to win a championship. Yes.
Hey, Coach, right here. Assuming you're probably going to get, assuming you're probably going to get a lot more questions about Jayden Daniels throughout the week and even beyond, what in particular, like what stands out to you about his last two historic performances, past two games?
I think I've used this word a couple of times, maybe 100 times. He is so decisive. Like there is no question about what he sees and how he acts. We got drop 8 for the first time in a little bit, and he did not want to run. He was looking and trying to find a window to get the ball out. You know, last year when we got drop 8, it was see ya, I'm running. So just that decisiveness has been probably the biggest change.